In this video, we'll look at the techniques to develop Likert scales or Likert rating scales. They are summated rating scales, and most of the measures that you see these days in surveys are some version of these Likert scales or use Likert techniques. So if we look at an example, the change questionnaire that you completed, you created like 25 items. Each of these questions are being anchored on each end with two extreme ratings. And this is really an important part of the Likert rating scales. Um, so you would have strongly disagree on one end and strongly agree on the other, or some way to say great and terrible with the two exact opposite outcomes. And then the numbers in the middle are moving between them. So on our questionnaire, we had strongly disagree to strongly agree. Um, and then we had 7 response categories. And this is a typical kind of Likert scale. You don't have to have exactly 7 categories. You can have more or less, but it's very common to split it up this way. So there's this cognitive rule in psychology that's basically the rule of 7 ± 2. Um, to boil it down, what this basically means is that people in general can make meaningful distinctions, or we can separate things cognitively into anywhere between 5 and 9 categories. We can do a good job of that, but once we get too far above that, it starts to be difficult to keep track of everything, to consistently rate things and keep the numbers consistent. So, for example, if I ask you how good the food was, you might say on a scale of 1 to 5, I'll give it a 4, something like that. Some people might be a little better rating. They might want to go out of, say, 9 stars. Some people like to do 1 to 10 just because it's round, but using 10 doesn't give you that exact center point where you can be neutral. But above 10, people start to struggle with consistency, and it's really difficult to compare rankings across individuals. So we see a lot of 5 point scales. They're very simple and very easy to work with, and people can be trusted to accurately divide their ratings into 5 categories. And it's a round enough number for people, or it's a common number. But 5 categories doesn't have to be a number scale. It can be literally strongly disagree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. So go from one extreme to the other. But in a lot of surveys, we'll see 7 point scales, splitting up just a little bit more to get a little bit more information on how people feel about whatever subject we're looking at. Um, so we might say again, 7 is strongly agree, 1 is strongly disagree, and then we'll have right in the middle be neutral. Um, so if you want someone to be able to give a neutral position, you need to have an odd number of categories. Like mathematically is very simple, but yeah, I guess because we use base 10 number, we have this kind of we like doing round numbers. I often rate things out of 10. But it doesn't give you that perfect neutral. And then that can be the issue, especially when you're doing like a big survey. Now you do have to pay attention. There's a problem that I've noticed in some surveys that they do is that a lot of their items won't match response categories across questions. So for example, they might have a question, about pizza and the response category might start with unimportant to you and go up to like important. But another question might go from strongly disagree to agree. And then another one is just simply a number rating. So what you have is each scale is different. Maybe they even like reverse them. So one starts with strongly agree, the other starts with strongly disagree for number one. These can confuse people when they're going through and trying to complete the survey. People are often in a rush or they're half paying attention when they fill these out. So you risk creating some serious issues for comparability by not standardizing the response categories. Some surveys that I see that do a good job of this will have it say split up into 2 pages. One page will be maybe 1 to 5, strongly disagree to strongly agree. The next page might do something different. So maybe it's reversed because at first you're looking at good things, second one you're looking at bad things for whatever reason, but they have them separated so that your mind kind of resets so you're not haphazardly going and filling out, say, accidentally saying something is like the worst when you actually meant to say that it's the best. Now, the beauty of these Likert scales is that you can compare across respondents and get good estimates of average responses with little work. It can be very simple for the person actually doing the statistical analysis, or in this case, just compiling the results. So you can sum the responses for each answer. You can divide by the number of respondents, get sort of an average rating that people give. So these are really easy to work with for survey givers, which is important, especially if you're doing this as part of a business. You don't have unlimited time and resources to be able to go through and say if you had just asked people open-ended descriptions, it'd be really difficult to try to quantify those and compare between individuals. But using a number scale can make it much easier.